The audacity of Karen had reached a new level. Phony Association police had been dispatched in an attempt to detain me, fully convinced that their presence and authority could intimidate, coerce, or enforce compliance with rules that were entirely imagined. The morning was calm, the sun glinting off the pond, the lodge roof, and the surrounding grounds, as if reflecting the contrast between serenity and the storm of entitlement she had unleashed. Karen assumed that the show of force would be enough to bend reality to her will. She was about to discover how gravely mistaken she had been. As the fake officers approached the property, Karen flanked them, clipboard in hand, shouting claims of violations, trespassing, and illegal occupancy. "You have no right to be here," she barked, voice trembling with a combination of fear and misplaced confidence. "I am enforcing the HOA rules, and you will comply immediately." Her enforcers nodded eagerly, eyes wide with anticipation, convinced that the intimidation alone would secure their victory. I arrived calmly, holding documentation that demonstrated my absolute authority over the property. Deeds, permits, and legal filings confirming ownership of the lodge, surrounding land, and every access point. I greeted the phony officers with a composed demeanor, presenting the paperwork and calmly explaining the situation. Their expressions shifted from bluster and pretense to realization. There was no legal basis for detaining me, no authority for enforcement, and no justification for any action against me. Karen's confidence faltered instantly, her audacious plan collapsing before her eyes. I then revealed the decisive truth. Not only did I own the property outright, but I was also a federal operative with full jurisdiction and oversight in situations involving trespassing, harassment, and unauthorized authority claims. The fake officers froze, suddenly aware that their actions could have severe personal and legal consequences. Karen's audacity, which she had assumed would command authority, had become her undoing. Her panic escalated visibly. She attempted to assert authority, negotiate, and rally support, but each action collided with the reality of law, strategy, and preparation. I calmly walked the officers and onlookers around the property, showing every legal boundary, every deeded access, and every permit under my control. The lodge, the surrounding grounds, and every point of entry were indisputably under my lawful authority. Karen's audacity, once imposing, was now fully exposed as hubris, every gesture a futile attempt to regain dignity she had already lost. Neighbors, drawn by the unfolding spectacle, watched in stunned silence as Karen's repeated miscalculations became painfully obvious. Every attempt to intimidate, coerce, or manipulate had been preemptively neutralized. Her enforcers, initially eager and confident, now stood in stunned silence, realizing their involvement could expose them to civil and criminal liability. The audacity she had relied on to command compliance had backfired spectacularly. By mid-morning, Karen attempted to salvage her pride. She called board members, attempted to issue new threats, and sought external validation for her imagined authority. Each action collided with legal reality, strategic foresight, and federal oversight. Her audacity, meant to intimidate and dominate, had become a public lesson in the consequences of entitlement without authority, aggression without preparation, and audacity without foresight. Throughout the afternoon, Karen's desperation grew. She attempted to reassert control, rally more supporters, and escalate her threats, but every move was systematically neutralized by careful planning, strategic authority, and legal mastery. The lodge remained fully under my control. The phony officers had been rendered powerless, and Karen's audacious attempts at domination had been turned into public humiliation. By evening, Karen had retreated, utterly defeated and powerless. Her obsession with control, reliance on imagined rules, and audacious attempts to dominate had been dismantled at every step. The lesson was unmistakable. Entitlement without authority, audacity without preparation, and aggression without foresight inevitably lead to spectacular failure. The lodge remained secure, the property under complete legal control, and Karen's audacity reduced to a cautionary tale visible to all onlookers. The phony officers had no authority, her threats were nullified, and her repeated attempts to dominate had been turned against her by strategic foresight, legal mastery, and absolute control. By nightfall, the lesson was crystal clear. Aggression without preparation and entitlement without authority always result in public humiliation, irreversible defeat, and exposure for all to see.